King. To say the late B.B. King this morning after his passing last night at the age of 89, but playing alongside you two there from Rattle and Hum from the band. 89 years old. What a career. Spanned some 70 years, almost 7 decades in the music industry, which is about the same length of time as my next guest has had in the music business. Richard Flohill, legendary music promoter, brought B.B. King to Toronto years ago. I'm not going to get into the details because I'm going to get them from the man himself. Mr. Flohill, so good to meet you this morning.
Nice to be here.
On this sad occasion, but there's so many wonderful memories to look back. You were, early on, you were somebody who was fascinated with jazz and blues early in your career. And how did you first hear of and discover B.B. King?
I can't remember when I first heard of B.B. King, but I was so into blues back in Britain in the 50s that I came to Canada because I was closer to the source. And I'd had a sort of a mini career bringing in lesser-known blues people, the best known of which was Muddy Waters, into Toronto. And I always wanted to meet B.B. King and hear him in person. So I
you'd
went.
already been familiar with his music. You already knew. What was it as a listener and as a fan about that early music that caught your ear particularly?
The guitar playing.
The guitar.
Yeah.
How he played it, or what specifically?
Just the very style of it, the clarity of it. And now I think younger musicians possibly kind of decry it. Well, you know, it's simple stuff. Well, every guitarist who ever comes close to playing blues has B.B. King in him. Whether he or she knows it or not, B.B. King is there.
Well, they're all paying tribute to him today, so they know it as well. So that was when you were a fan. Then you became a music promoter, and you brought him to Canada for his first big show, which was in Massey Hall. Hold this up, because here's a little bit of music memorabilia here. If you hold it up to our camera over here, or we maybe even have grabbed a picture of this already. There's the poster of the show, B.B. King at Massey Hall.
Check the ticket price.
Let me see.
$250, $350, and $450.
That's incredible. So this is 1968. Tell me about the show.
I don't remember much of it.
Oh, that was a good show then.
It was a really good show, and I actually made money. And every time I met B in all the years afterwards, he would say, "You must have lost money on that show." No, man, I made money. It set me on the road to ruin.
So
the best story that he called me I can't remember how many years later, and said, "Do you know Lonnie Johnson?" And Lonnie Johnson was a very famous American guitarist who'd recorded in the 20s and throughout the 40s and was living in Toronto. And B would always tell me that he and Charlie Christian were the two influences as far as his guitar playing were concerned, but he'd never met Lonnie Johnson. Corey said, "Do you know where Lonnie Johnson is?" I called my friend Howard Matthews, said, "Howard, where's Lonnie Johnson? Do you know?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, where is he?" He says, "He's in my kitchen." So I said, "Well, can I bring B.B. King over to meet him?" So I drove downtown, picked up B, took him to this house, walked into the kitchen, and there was Lonnie Johnson, and also two other great American blues players, Sonny Terry and Brownie McGhee. And I just introduced them, and people ever since, when I tell us, "Oh, what did they talk about?" And I felt it was not my business to know. I just left them to it and made the introductions and went away.
Well, you facilitated anyway because you kept the ties with him from this time. The very first. You called him B. Is that what his friends called him? They did not BB, just B.
No, everybody called him B.
Okay.
And you were allowed to do that from the get-go.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, go back to 68, though, when you brought him to town. What was the audience reaction in Massey Hall to that first show?
Standing ovations. It was almost sold out. It was a great show. Everybody loved it.
Was the audience mixed, black and white? Do you remember at all?
No black people.
So that's interesting, because right about that time, in 68 in the States, he himself was amazed, he said.
Almost overnight, he lost the black audience and gained a new one overnight. And there's a great story that he played the Fillmore in San Francisco. And there was this huge lineup, and he said, "This can't be the venue. There must be somewhere. It must be somewhere."
Because the people in the lineup were white, right?
They were all white, and that it was a massive lineup that he just, at that point, steered the bus somewhere else until he realized that this was the show. And he spoke about that quite frequently, and we had a conversation about how how suddenly that change happened. It was almost overnight.
He said he cried at that realization because he was introduced as the chairman of the board at that show, and he realized that he had made a colossal leap, what would have been an impossible leap, and it really.
And you know, when I don't think it's. That show in 1968, I paid B.B. King $2,000.
Really?
His fee was always in excess of $100,000 to his death.
Isn't that incredible? No wonder you made money. So did you see? You got to see Lucille, one of the early Lucilles at that show
too. There were many Lucilles.
Exactly.
There were many Lucilles.
Did he travel with more than would have traveled with
He traveled with 2 or 3 guitars,
right?
But they were identical.
Yeah. That's a pretty
in case
legendary
something went wrong. And they didn't travel in the massive tour bus or anything like that. B would come up here, usually rent a car.
Drive himself? Or have somebody
No, he usually had one of the guys in the band do the driving.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, definitely. The thing about B that I will always remember, apart from his influence, which as long as blues will be played, and it's the root of almost all North American popular music, there will always be B.B. King in it. And he will not be forgotten. He's one of the, but what I remember of him was his grace. He was the most graceful, friendly, open, warm-hearted guy. You shake hands with that man, you've got a friend for life.
Well, look at, as we're coming to the end of our conversation, but I do want to show this picture. This is you in 1970. Love the hair, which you still have so...
Well, it's falling out rapidly.
Not at all, but look at his suit. There you are. So this is a couple of years into your friendship.
Yeah, I can't remember when that picture was taken. I have some that were taken at the Massey Hall show, but I couldn't find them in time for the...
So you remember his grace for the man, but you who know so many of the great blues musicians, because you brought them to town and you know them, Muddy Waters, you said Buddy Guy, where do you put B.B. King in the pantheon?
Well, he's the most famous blues artist in the world. And, you know, as you say, you'd say jazz, and the man in the street would say Louis Armstrong back then. And B used to say, you know, I want to be to blues what Louis Armstrong is to jazz. The one person that people know, and he achieved that.
What a pleasure to meet you on this day where we're looking back. What a pleasure. Thank you so much for those memories. A little bit more of B.B. King music for you this morning as we remember the legendary guitarist.